There is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about.
Ask what's possible, not what's wrong.
Keep asking.
Notice what you care about.
Assume that many others share your dreams.
Be brave enough to start a conversation that matters. 勇敢地发起一段重要的对话。
Talk to people you know.
Talk to people you don't know.
Talk to people you never talk to.
Be intrigued by the differences you hear.
Expect to be surprised.
Treasure curiosity more than certainty.
Invite in everybody who cares to work on what's possible.
Acknowledge that everybody is an expert about something.
Know that creative solutions come from new connections. Savoir que les solutions créatives viennent des nouvelles connexions.
Remember, you don't fear people whose story you know.
Real listening always brings people closer together.
Trust that meaningful conversations can change our world. विश्वास करो कि मतलब वाली बातें हमारी दुनिया को बदल सकती है.
Rely on human goodness.
Stay together.
We are amidst a time where we are promised a culture of togetherness and inclusion.
What is essential for reaching this?
It's to acknowledge what keeps us separate.
We are all human.
But until we are all treated as so, these remain words to a struggle that needs action.
Action we plan on taking.
Saskatchewan will not be a place of settling.
Let's make an example and not an excuse. Climate change is a pressing issue, and Saskatchewan's fossil fuel dependence is not in ours or our home, the Earth's, best interest.
However, we have to keep our economy and citizens in mind when we think about clean and sustainable energy.
Upstream thinking, or getting to the root of the issue, is our best bet at achieving a future that is both clean and economically strong.
We plan on turning jobs in the fossil fuel industry into green jobs.
Mechanics for oil machinery become mechanics for wind turbines.
The key is to educate children to live sustainably.
There are a couple of things stopping us from reaching our goals.
For starters, the fossil fuel industry makes us more money than clean energy.
Some people still don't view climate change as a legitimate issue.
This must change. Our future will become present sooner than we think, and what we do now will make all the difference.
Saskatchewan is my home, and it's a home I'm willing to share. I want immigration to spark excitement within my fellow citizens, not exclusion.
Very often, immigrants are highly educated in their own countries. Yet, to support their family in Canada, are forced to give that up for a low-income job.
As Canadians who value the principle of multiculturalism and strive to be a globalized province, immigration plays a huge part in this.
Immigration is key to prosperity. Immigrants create opportunities for exposure to new ideas we wouldn't get otherwise.
Education can be a wake-up call to non-Indigenous Canadians to remind them that we were all immigrants at one point.
A curriculum that includes only French and English doesn't do justice to a country as diverse as Canada.
Students should have more options to learn non-dominant languages, including Indigenous languages.
Let this program be the first one to move forward and give all languages an equal opportunity.
The neglection of the elderly is very prevalent in Saskatchewan.
The support we provide for senior citizens is simply not enough.
We need to provide opportunities to bond with the elderly through the arts, even just idle chat. By actively listening and engaging with the senior citizens, this province will be able to understand the past and learn how to move towards the future.
Throughout history, we have made the huge mistake of degrading minority races and disregarding the beauty of holistic knowledge.
If I listened to a single story and stereotypes about the Indigenous people, I would never know the buried history of Canada, the reason behind the high rates of drug and alcohol addiction, and the missing and murdered Indigenous women. I would never know the racism that lies beneath the so-called democratic nation.
The uncensored history of Indigenous people must be taught to reach true healing and reconciliation.
The biggest thing we can give the next generation is a promise to kids of color to stop treating their experiences as ones too controversial for the classroom.
Racism is not an opinion.
Whether white privilege exists is not a discussion to be had, but a fact to be accepted.
And before we can do, we must undo.
People of color are not asking for an apology, we are looking for a change. Progression in the public eye does not equal progression amongst the people when covert racism is normalized and white comfort is prioritized.
People of color are expected to be their own activists because no one else will. Education can end this demand.
At virtually every decision-making table, not all of us are seen and heard. Now is the time to recognize the necessity of having Indigenous peoples, women, and other minorities in decision-making.
If you've appropriately been represented all your life, it can be hard to see why this even matters. But how can our government be a reflection of all of us when I and many other underrepresented minorities are not seen or heard?
Youths are the future leaders of the society.
Education is the most significant part of someone's life, and it needs to extend beyond the classroom.
We're at a point in our lives making career-based choices and pursuing goals and our dreams. Proper education can lead us through a field of interest, define our skills, and open doors to new opportunities.
The unequal distribution of resources has led to an underfunding of rural and northern Saskatchewan schools.
Kids who are deprived of a fair education become adults facing unequal opportunities. Funding these schools should be a priority because where you live shouldn't determine where you're going.
In an ever-changing society, we want to implement a type of education that is not limited to the formal schooling during adolescence, but rather a part of our citizenship, lifelong learning, to break the seemingly perpetual cycle of misinformation.
As a society, we cannot conquer what we cannot see. This would allow us to finally recognize a sign of privilege and oppression that dismantle these harmful systems.
Long-term change requires momentary discomfort.
We must extend our standards of compassion past personal relations to people who are nameless to us and those who will never know, because
if we don't care, we won't change.